So, Linda, what a joy and an honor it is to connect with you via Facebook. As you know, we're starting our Kenya mentorship and just wanted to know what words of wisdom you have for everybody here in Kenya.
Well, I wish I could be there with you physically, but I'm definitely with you. And I'm going to call it the heart of Africa, Mother Africa. And I think it's so wonderful to have a virtues conference right there with our facilitators and our master facilitators. And I just want to bring you all my love and tell you that from this gathering, there will be like rays of the sun to go out and help the world to bring virtues to life.
So, Linda, as you know, the focus of our mentorship and of the conferences is really about honor and integrity and what we can do to combat corruption here, not just in Kenya, but around the world. What words of guidance do you have for us?
Well, I think we all know that that the world is crying out for integrity more now perhaps than ever because communication shows us how rampant corruption is. And even in our little country, it's a big question, especially involving politicians. And I know in Africa it's been a challenge for many generations. And of course, it is around the whole world. How do we turn this world into a place of goodness? You know, the dream that John, my brother John, my husband Dan, and I had at the very beginning of the Virtues Project was to change the world in 2 generations. And you know, the key is still with the children. How do you change the world? You raise the children to know who they really are and to care so much about integrity and honor that they would refuse to tell a lie. They would never be caught cheating or stealing from anyone. And that being good is part of their very soul. It's part of their nature. It's what they want out of life. So if we want people to start living the good life and to bring those virtues of righteousness, honesty, truthfulness, caring, compassion, integrity, and honor to life, number one, we need to raise our children to know who they really are. And that means that we train them carefully and lovingly. We don't train them with violence, we train them with virtues. And we use the language of virtues. We recognize the teachable moments that are before them and turn any incident not into a shaming opportunity by calling them lazy or calling them cruel or calling them useless. We turn it into a teachable moment by calling them to the virtue. Just the other night, we have 3 grandchildren here on the little island where we live who are island children that have really adopted us. And we were playing cards, which we like to do together. We walk on the beach and then we play cards. And one of the boys was cheating. And I said to him, "Oh, I see you don't know much about honesty yet." He said, "Honesty? What's that?" Now, these boys just arrived about a month ago. And I said, "Well, Tasi, who is my granddaughter, who just turned 6, tell her about honesty." She said, "You don't cheat, you play fair." So he said, "Okay, I can do that." So he stopped looking at his cards and picking the highest one. He put the cards back and played properly. And I said, "You know what? You're doing an excellent job with honesty." Very often with children, they will try anything. But once they know that you have clear boundaries, and my boundary is if we play with honesty, then I will continue playing. If anybody cheats, I stop playing for this card game. You know, sometimes the boundaries are very simple, but setting clear boundaries that are based on restorative justice with every age group, allowing people the opportunity to make amends if they have stolen, if they have cheated, if they have done wrong to someone, um, is a very powerful way to build back authentic self-esteem, but especially in children. So every school needs to have a virtues-based system of discipline, which means that they have an opportunity to look at what happened, to think what virtue could I have been practicing, and how could it have turned out differently if I'd used that virtue. So it's always calling the child back to the positive. Um, that's why it was very important for me to speak the language of virtues to my grandson, to acknowledge him for showing his honesty. And I noticed that none of them have cheated ever since that happened. They really took the teachable moment. It's powerful.
We should never underestimate the power of speaking the language of virtues and recognizing that teachable moment. Beautiful and simple. What other wisdom do you have for us?
Well, I think going through the strategies of speaking the language, recognizing teachable moments, setting clear boundaries based on restorative justice, to me, the justice system in a country needs to look at restoring the person who has committed a crime back to society. And every effort needs to be put into restorative programs, such as the Virtues Project in the corrections system. I know that in Australia, for example, I've been to many different prisons, and it's such a powerful awakening for inmates to see that they are more than the worst thing they've ever done, and that they can always choose a life of virtues, even when they're in prison for life. They can help others, they can change themselves. The fourth strategy of honoring the spirit. Many people in the continent of Africa are very religious people. They are Christians, they are Muslims, they are Jews, they are Baha'is. They, and if they understand that to live their faith is a way to honor God, to fear God in the sense of loving wisdom, I think that this is a very important connection for virtues facilitators to make. I know that for me, I have the privilege and the blessing of writing a column for Cook Island News called Virtues in Paradise. And I'm always talking about how do we walk our talk? How do we live in integrity by actually practicing the virtues that are the ways in which we were created in the image and likeness of God? And so that's an important part of honoring the spirit in countries where belief and faith are so important. And of course, last but not least is the fifth strategy, which is the art of spiritual companioning, offering companioning. And I think everywhere people need to be heard. They need to be listened to with great compassion and detachment so that they can hear their own story. And whoever is the keeper of the stories is the keeper of meaning and social change. And so all of these together are very powerful change agents. So whether you are working with one child or an agency in the government or a school or affecting the lives of many people through a talk at a conference, these virtues are the greatest gift you can ever give them because that is who we truly are. And that is our truest calling. So I just want to honor all of you for your love that brought you to this conference, your faithfulness to the virtues, and really for being part of our virtues family around the world.
Linda, what a joy and an honor to have this time with you. I want to acknowledge you on behalf of our entire community, you and Dan and John, for your generosity of service to humanity, for your courage and creativity and your idealism, your steadfastness, and all the other virtues that you all have exemplified. We love you so much, and you're in our thoughts and prayers always, always. Thank you.
Thank you, Dara. And I just so appreciate your generosity and thoughtfulness for recording this so that you could take a little bit of me with you to Kenya. And I can't wait to hear people's stories about how this went. Maybe on the Virtues Facebook page, that would be a great place for some of the photos and the stories. So I'm just praying for all of you to have absolutely the most meaningful experience that you can, and for you to take this out like the rays of the sun and warm the hearts of everybody in this beautiful continent and all over the world. Love you all.